are live.
Woo! Elvis in the house.
Woo!
Elvis in the house. Looking
Yeah,
for.
oh, Steve, happy April Fool's Day. Today is April the 1st.
Yeah. Um, we should have not streamed and said psych, like April
Yeah.
Fools.
Or we could have been like, today we're going to talk about easy worship.
We are. We are. We're going to talk about
Yeah.
we're going to talk about everything but ProPresenter today.
Right.
Right.
And also, of course, more importantly, happy Easter,
Happy
Stephen Andrew
Easter,
Dirks.
Stephen Andrew. My middle name's not Andrew.
The
Oh,
the ProPresenter Poppy.
Poppy.
What, Steve? How was your Easter?
It was great, bro. It was great.
Yeah.
I
Good.
So I got to help a couple churches this past week. I got to one church
Mhm.
that's a buddy of mine. I got to help go out and offer some lighting ideas for some different songs, which was
Okay.
cool.
Cool.
Not
Sure.
normally my thing, but I have dabbled with some stuff and been around people with lighting, so that was really cool to kind of offer some feedback. They were it was a great Sunday for them. I got to help serve the church I have served weekly remotely, loading in some stuff for them, which turned out great. Which is kind of what we're gonna a little bit of what we're gonna talk about today. Unless someone has in the chat streaming in live, if you have some questions and you like to have us go a different direction, let us know. And then I
Mm.
got to be at my local church, Steel City Church, and run audio and set up the graphics and stuff for them. And it was a great Sunday there. We had probably we were pretty much maxed out. And last time we were maxed out last year with Easter, we had a mission team that was in, so it was kind of cool to see the room
Oh,
full
wow.
with not having a team there. So that was a lot of people
Yeah,
from the
sure.
neighborhood, a lot of people who don't seem to come to our church often. So it was really cool to get to be interacting with them, and yeah, love my family. Got to take a photo as a fam for Easter together. So
Of course. Yeah, very important.
very important considering we haven't taken a family photo in like 2 years. So probably good.
Mhm.
We did that. But yeah, it was great. How about you, man? What'd you do?
Yeah, man. I had a pretty chill Easter. Went to church. Went to lunch afterwards. With some of the families from the church, and man, just chilled, just
Sweet.
chilled on the real, just
Chilled
celebrating
on the
Jesus
real.
and eating
On the real. Nice.
on the real.
Sweet.
Yeah, man.
Sweet.
So it's my second Easter outside of church world. But you know what? It feels like the first. But to be honest with you, the week leading up to it, I did kind of miss some of the insanity of that week,
Really?
in church.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I missed the team building and
Oh, is
working
that what you call
together.
it, team building?
Yeah, like putting your team together
Oh,
for
gotcha.
for Sunday service, and just kind of everyone working together for this common goal.
Yeah.
I started to feel a little bit of a tinge of FOMO a little bit.
Fear of missing out.
If you're missing out.
How was it being in a service on Easter yesterday? What was that like?
Good. Yeah, it was my second year. Last year, I was living in another town, so I was at a different church. But it was nice. It is nice to just like show up at a church uh, and then bounce,
Bounce
and
afterward.
not really have any responsibilities. Yeah. Even though I hung around, but not because I had any responsibilities. I just kind of was hanging out.
Nice. Nice. Well, sweet. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So we hadn't really gotten any feedback except for we had a conversation with was it Lynn this week about Planning Center? Sheik?
Yeah, I believe so. I can pull it up.
I might pull that up. I think the question that someone had asked us was about the planting planning center feature about like in essence, they
Hmm.
were asking that they had stuff in their ProPresenter library and why it wasn't showing up in Planning Center. And so,
Oh, it's Joy. Joy
Joy.
Feimster.
Okay. So, Joy, what I was mentioning, and it might be good to just kind of show, is that you can import from Song Select from Planning Center. So you can have your Planning Center set up and import from that. Which the way you do
Hmm.
that is, I want to say it's settings. Sorry, it's integrations. There it is. So Planning Center,
Hmm.
you can set up your library and all that. But my understanding is it's I've never really used uploading to Planning Center. Now maybe there's a way
Okay.
to do that. I see that here there's an automatically upload presentations and media. I have never
Hmm.
done an upload. I've always imported from Planning Center. So I'll come
Okay.
in and I'll create a playlist from Planning Center and I can pull that in. But I've never tried to upload to Planning Center. I've always seen it as a one way sync. Some of that is because
What?
depending on what your situation is with Planning Center, I've just found that it can really like confuse the media because I think at times it will like duplicate media over and over again, which is not
Mhm.
good because then you can have the same countdown repeated 5 to 10 times depending on how it's been syncing. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
keep my library of content and songs in here. I bring content in as far as a playlist, and then I connect the songs that I'm doing to that playlist item. Um, the other thing too to note with Planning Center is and I've actually dealt with this recently with the church is I will import a Planning Center playlist. So if I'm
Hmm.
in worship Sunday morning and I were to select this, I'll bring it in and it'll show up here as a playlist. I'm not going to do that because this is another church that I'm logged into. So it would show up here. But the weird thing about it is it will show up as a Planning Center synced playlist, which is actually
Okay.
not helpful because you can't really change stuff around easily. So what I will do is convert it to, I'll right click on it and there's an option to convert to a normal playlist. And I'll convert it once I've
Okay.
synced it down. And that allows me to add items to it if I need to add a space, a spacer, add a heading, like add an extra heading option to kind of notate to the team what we're doing. If I want to, remove a song on the fly, if you kind of leave it synced to Planning Center, it's pretty cumbersome to do that. So that's what I tend to do is I tend to use Planning Center to sync into Pro, and then I don't really worry about trying to sync back out.
Sure.
If you're trying to do both, I would say there's probably some stuff that if you look at um, the YouTube guy, the guy who's done a lot of the Renewed Vision videos, forgot his name now.
Zimmerman.
Brad Weston has done a lot of videos,
Okay. Yeah.
and he might have a tutorial on how he's done a buy sync to Planning Center from ProPresenter. But I just don't use that feature because to me, back in the day with 6, it was a little too flaky for me. They solidified it up. One of the churches I'm helping is using it more, but I still just, to me, I prefer to build my playlist out custom, monitor and check between Planning Center, and I've just found that allows me to have the most control of it on a Sunday morning if things are shifting and all that. So.
What's the benefit of it?
Well, it just brings in your entire like set list and like all the headers and stuff that you might see on a Planning Center
Okay.
sheet. So,
Oh, okay.
for
Yeah.
example, it'll bring in your entire like set list. with
Yeah.
headers and
Okay.
all that. And if
But not
the song has been linked before, it'll come in and it'll be linked to that song again, kind of thing.
okay.
So,
What about media? Does it include media?
well, I think that's what Joy was asking. I have seen some people sync their media up to Planning Center. I just don't really want my Planning Center to do that because to me, I see Planning Center as a
Yeah.
service and song like management tool. I don't want it managing the media, so I've never tried to sync my media up to Planning Center. And to me, that would just create too much
Gotcha.
time, and so I've never done that. And I've just seen too many issues where you're reliant on Planning Center, and then something goes down, and because you're reliant on Planning Center now, it screws everything up. And so I'm just much more of like I use it to bring my set list and my set order in, but then I move on from there pretty quick to managing it internally. Um,
Okay,
and
got it.
yeah, there was an issue I ran into with the church recently. They were bringing in from Planning Center and the countdown, and every week they changed the countdown, but they were bringing in the Planning Center and not change. And what was happening was it was linking to the old countdown file that was not being updated. And so they would create a new countdown, but they wouldn't link it into the new plan. And so it would just pull the old one. So then, like, it was always wrong at rehearsal because they weren't actually linking the new countdown to it. So just things like that can be a little cumbersome. So,
Mhm.
I mean, if it's something you need, uh, sorry, Easter Monday morning. If it's something you need, I think, there's ways to potentially do that, but I would just encourage you, like, Planning Center is your media library. I don't encourage you to try to, like, store all your media on Planning Center. ProPresenter needs to be your media library. Um, Planning Center is not built to, like, manage effectively. I've never seen media, like, I've never seen a church try to, like, pick which backgrounds they're doing based off their Planning Center library. Like, that's just, to me, a cumbersome way of doing it. So
Mhm.
I could be wrong on that, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we talked last week about some of the stuff I was doing. I thought maybe we would spend a couple minutes and just show people how that kind of like shaked out a little bit. Get
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
did
I'm
there?
excited about this.
Shaked out.
Yeah, I like it. Yes. Yes.
So,
Let's Steve it up. Let's dirk it up.
let's dirk it up.
To get
Okay,
dirky.
get dirty. Uh, so there was a couple of things that I don't know if we necessarily talked about, but what we did, so we have two different styles of worship here at this church. Not styles, but two different services. One is a blended tradition, blended with choir and a little more traditional leaning, but they still are very
Mhm.
modern and push some things. And so we did something really cool with them, where the guy who is the worship leader at this church, his sons are also worship leaders. He wanted to do a song with his sons, but obviously his sons had to be at their churches on Easter. So we created a video where his sons sang their parts.
Oh,
We lined
okay.
it all up and we triggered the video. So there was stuff on the cross, and not the videos weren't on the cross because it would have been hard to see the guys. The videos were
Yeah.
on the stream and on the side screens, and then this cross had some content going. So we had to come up
And you
with
probably don't want to. You don't want to hang them on the cross. That
right.
feels
That feels
inappropriate.
a little inappropriate.
Yeah. Right.
So we had to come up that was a situation where we had to come up with something different because in essence what I wanted to do was to present their content on the side screens and have background and lyrics on the center of the cross. Okay. So that required thinking through a little bit. How are we going to accomplish that? So I'm going to share this video and scrub to the part that some of this will come in. So we'll start here. And he starts off singing. The cross comes up. The way that I did this, and I'll talk through this and then I'll show it, but the way I had to, in essence, do this was to figure out how to present two different media elements at the same time. And the way that I went about doing it, not necessarily the saying it's the right one. Maybe there was a different way that you think I should have done it. I'd love to hear it. But what I did was I created the video as an alpha channel so that everything that was like black was blank. So it would show up on the stream as the camera shots. And I put that in the prop layer and I started it at the start of the song. And they triggered it with Ableton. So on stage, when they started the song, it started the first slide and the background changed. The lyrics show up as normal. And then the lyrics on the side would show up as the video plays through, timed up with the song. And so it worked like this. Obviously, we're seeing the stream, so you're not going to see the cross, and I'll show you in a sec what that looked like. But so we had him come on screen, and then his brother came in, and they sang together, and Mickey was on stage singing as well. So in essence, it became kind of a triple, three-part song singing together. We had to do some timing, some stuff. Even on Saturday, we were working on some stuff, trying to fine-tune it. But that was how we kind of got there. Was I had to figure out ways to handle two sets of media because I wanted a background going, lyrics going on the cross, not showing what was on the side stream. And so this is where a lot of people have asked, like, how do you do multiple things? Well, this is how I went about and did that. And so I'll show you guys now what I did on the actual ProPresenter setup for that. So what we did was in our prop layer, I had a video, Easter special video loaded. You'll notice here, this video is alpha channel enabled, so there's nothing showing because the first frame is blank. Then we have the video loaded in here. So when I clicked on this first slide, it triggered the video, and you'll notice that it triggers the cross, which stand by. Hold on, guys. I think the ProPresenter might need to be restarted. It worked on Sunday. It's not working now because I got like 20 things going on. But let's open this back up. Oh, whoa! Stand by. Stand by. There we go. Okay. So when we trigger the first slide, the cross lit up and the video starts. The one thing about this setup is it's a little confusing because if you look at it, you're like, oh, well, the video is going to repeat and it's not really playing. Well, it doesn't show you a timer in the prop layer of the video that you're playing. So it was a little tricky. I had to tell our operators and tell our team there that, like, you're going to play the first slide and that's going to trigger the video. So you're going to have to just, like, trust it. Like, you can't, you're not going to be able to monitor. Yeah. So then as you click through slides, content would show on the cross as we needed to here. And then over on the screen, you had the stream showing the person who was singing. So then as he sang his parts, lyrics worked properly. And when they get to the chorus together, and you'll notice that the stage display is all working properly. They can see their parts, their notations, and all that. So that's what I did, was to set that up, was using the prop layer, loading the video there.
I like how he slides in a frame.
Yep. So, yep, he slides in. I made that video for them. Really rough cut. But, yeah. So that was that, and then I did a couple of background transitions. So because I did the prop layer, I was then able to do some background shifting and transitioning. So it's hard to see in the stream because the whole time they're pretty much on screen with very little Mickey. Like once we get through the first part, they're on screen the whole time. But you can see here I did some background shifts as well to build some energy throughout the song. And then when we got to the end, we ended like this with the tomb on the cross, and then we rolled. So,
oh, that's pretty.
So that was the first service, the kind of the big element we did. We obviously, we had other stuff like I showed you guys. We started with the cross not lit up. We started with Christ the Lord is risen today. The first verse we did no cross, and then once we got to the second verse where it said lives again, our glorious King, I started a fade of the cross to come in and build that in. So I did some stuff like that to try to create visual interest and creating some motion and movement with changing backgrounds throughout to build the story of what's happening on what we're singing about. So yeah, that was first service. Second service, we did something a little different. So second service, and even Good Friday they did this, but we did a timed lyric video on the cross. So with a voiceover. So if you look
Mm.
here, let me go to transition this. Sorry, let's do transition. Okay.
Then go
So
quickly and
you'll
tell his
hear there's a
disciples,
voiceover happening
he has
here.
risen
That's
from
built
the
into the
dead,
video.
and indeed he is going
And we're
ahead of you to
playing this
Galilee.
video. This
You
is
will
different than
see
first
him
service
there.
because we didn't
Listen,
have backgrounds
I
now
have
needed on
told
the
you.
cross. So I could actually play the video on the cross and then just lyrics on the side. So it's different. I didn't have to do as complex of a setup. But then you'll watch that the voiceover stuff is animated on screen as we go. Um, so let's watch here.
Oh, right. It's just scrolling
Departing
through.
quickly from the
Yeah, so
tomb with
then the
fear
text is
and great
animated
joy,
Okay, there.
onto
they ran to tell his
the cross,
disciples the news.
which they built this
Just
video and we
then,
just cropped it to make
Jesus
sure
met
it
them
worked well with
and
the
said,
cross in our editor.
"Greetings." They
If you ever
came
need
up,
anything like this
took
made for your
hold of his
services, church
feet,
visuals, our
and
team would love to
worshipped
help you
him.
create that. It's really
Then
just
Jesus
figuring out
Mhm.
told
what
them,
the frame of
"Do
your video
not
is.
be
This project
afraid.
ended up being a
Go
1920
and
by
tell my
1080
brothers
frame,
to
and we
leave for
just used the
Galilee,
center part
and
where
they
a
will
cross would
see
be
me there."
of the video. So we just built it in a 1920 by 1080 frame and kept the text there.
Do you have a picture, Steve, of the
Or make
cross set up without any of the lighting so that we can see kind of what it looks like?
I do. Well, it's not. There's lighting everywhere, but I can show you this.
Yeah,
So this is how we ended.
kind of a behind the scenes.
Um, I don't have a. I might be able to pull up a photo of setup during the week.
Did you guys rent?
Someone
Are,
will
are
say,
these like LED screens?
Yeah, this it's an LED screen cross. So we they rented from a company locally. Um, let me see if I can pull up the the Good Friday service because the Good Friday service had we ended the service with the cross um, as just saying Jesus or something like that. So that might be easier to kind of see the full scope of it. Let me see if I can. It looks like they might have pulled it down already. Wonder if it's on Facebook. I think we streamed it to Facebook.
Oh, look at the fam. Look at the darks.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, this might be a good one to see. Stand by. I'll have to share this with you guys. Give me one sec to figure out sharing this with you. Um, Google Chrome. There we go. Let's try this. Hopefully this works. So, Good Friday. Was kind of looking like this without lighting in the room. You can see the cross, man, just blue. It was pretty powerful, man. This is how they ended the service with Jesus on the cross, and they left it like that as they left the room. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
that's nice.
yeah, I mean, if you have like elements like this all the time in your church, you can do so much, man. You can play around and build towards stuff. They just brought this in for this weekend, so when we kind of had to move quick on some stuff. But some really cool stuff, and yeah, it's really cool to be able to try to present things in a different way. We had tried to do this. We did this
Mhm.
years ago when I was on staff at Shandon. We did a cross, but it was a projection mapped cross projection. So we built a
Okay.
screen and then projection put on it, and we had two projectors
Mhm.
stacked, so it was double bright. But it really didn't even. I mean, it didn't even hit. This just blew. LED walls just are cool, man.
Yeah,
They just
sure.
they just blow everything out of the water. So so
And
um
if a church wanted to do something similar, do they reach out to a local AV company?
yeah. I mean, there's local AV companies more than likely within a driving distance of your area. So you'd reach out to them.
Sure.
If not, if you don't know where to start, feel free to hit up hit up a large church in your area. Say, hey, where do you guys get your
Yeah.
rental gear
Right.
from and all that. Throw it out on Facebook. If you're in the southeast, if you're near the South Carolinas, North Carolinas, Georgias, call me up. I can let you know which company did this one. And they service up and down the eastern seaboard. Just depends kind of where you're at. Up in I'm in Pittsburgh, so starting to get up here, you probably potentially might have a different company because it's not as cost effective to rent something from down south. But
Yeah.
yeah, you rent. They load it in on Monday, Tuesday, and I think they'll load out this week at some point. Um, and yeah, you just have to have the gear to rig something like that. And if you don't, then you just tell the rental company like it needs to be stacked on the floor. We don't have any rigging points, so then
Mhm.
they would just map out something that works for that. So yeah, so that was Easter. The one part that was different than normal that we had to like think through, and this is what happens every time you're dealing with something new and special. My sermon look had to completely change because normally I present the content two ways, both on the side screens and the back screen, but it actually got a little simpler actually because we didn't want to put notes on the cross because it just would get too small to read.
Mhm.
So the start, He is risen, we did that on the cross, and then we put the logo up. So I had a prop with the logo, and we just kept that on screen the whole time. And we just did lower thirds on the side screens. So that was kind of how we handled that and made that happen.
Okay.
So every time you load something in like this, you're trying to figure out what's the best look for your worship setting, what's going to be the most distraction free, but also deliver the message quality, in a good way. So yeah, that's what we did
Yeah,
for.
that's the eternal balance
Yeah,
in church media.
you're always trying to figure
Not
out.
letting the elements overtake the message.
Yeah, you're always trying to figure out what's the best way to present it, but not become a distraction or a hindrance for sure.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and then the church that I work at, that I serve up here, that I'm a part of here in Steel City, we didn't have any LED wall. We just have our two TVs mounted on the front. It
Mhm.
was really really powerful Sunday. Um, and but it was a much simpler setup, and so when I'm dealing with simpler setups, I tend to do a little more. Like I try to lean into utilizing our screens and maximizing what we're doing there. So I tried to do some shifting, maybe even a little more shifting than what I might normally do, just to kind of create color and balance there. So we had two TVs.
Okay.
Um, the lighting doesn't really change week to week because I don't have it yet in a spot that it's easy to do that. So then I use the screens to help kind of bring color to build. And so we did some songs. We did Death Was Arrested. So I started off with um, darkness and then built in a bright, colorful background. Once it talked about, but then Jesus arose with our freedom in hand. I did the same thing for King of Kings as well. Did some of that. So play around with starting dark, building in light, and I just kind of that's kind of something I've done recently there to do that. So yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
Easter maybe. So
Easter. We did it. We survived.
we did. Did anyone have any questions on the chat? Or is it
I don't see any over here.
okay?
We talked about Joy's question.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't
I had
see
a
any.
question from a couple months ago that I answered this morning. Sorry, it was late. I didn't realize didn't realize I hadn't gotten a notification. Someone had asked about how long you should go with managing your library gets slow, and how often
Oh,
should you clean your
yeah.
library. And I just reiterate. I like to say at minimum every 6 months try to go through and clean stuff out. Just really helps keeps things going. I will say this, like for example, all these Easter videos we loaded in, these are massive files. Like the alpha
Yeah.
channel enabled version was a 10 gigabyte file. That isn't going to be
Right.
staying in there this week. I'll take all the Easter stuff out because all that stuff was super custom, super like we were trying to get the best quality. I wasn't worried about trying to compress it really. I wanted to do like the best. And so I wanted stuff to run well, making sure that. But once it was running, I wasn't gonna like go try to like shrink it down. So because of that,
Mhm.
I will pull all that stuff out. And so that's what I'll just say to you. If you have a special event come in and they load in a bunch of videos, pull all that stuff out. If you have Easter and you load a bunch of stuff in just for Easter, well, unless it's a background you're planning on using more, get it all saved onto a hard drive and then delete it out. It'll help keep your machine running optimally and cleaned up. So hopefully you have some time this week. I always found that, right after Easter, you might have a couple extra, a little bit extra time in the next couple weeks at some point to try to do some of that kind of cleanup management. But it'll help save you
Yeah, kind of that.
from syncing or doing stuff or managing stuff that you really don't even need ProPresenter worrying about. So,
There's that debrief season.
yeah. Use your debrief season to deload stuff that you loaded in for
Yeah, declutter.
declutter. So yeah, dude. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a specific time. I would say every six
Mhm.
months I would try to clean up the entire library, and anytime I did a big event, I would try to clear out any of those items from the big event because I didn't want that stuff
Right.
to hinder the running of the machine. So
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
so yeah. Well, we don't really have anything else today, but I think what we should
Mhm.
do is if you have questions, or if you have stuff that you think we should cover in a future meetup, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Sheik and I would love to have you send your questions and thoughts to ProPresenter at churchvisuals.com. Sheik will answer all those questions for you directly.
Mm. Yes. That's what I'm here
Uh,
for.
that's what,
Ask me about looks,
yeah,
ask me about screens,
yeah, man, that's what you're here for.
I'm your
Yeah,
dude.
you're the
You want to
man.
upload from ProPresenter to PowerPoint to Planning Center and back? Hit me up.
Okay, we won't have Sheik answer your question, but Sheik will provide us the comic relief for it. So, but if you
Okay.
have any
Yep.
questions, if you have anyone you think we should get to interview, feel free to reach out. Let us know. Um, what are you guys doing? I'll just ask this question. What are you doing with your ProPresenter? What's your setup? I'd love to have anyone chime in with how their setup is, how it's running, other questions, other pain points, the pressure points that you have with how you're running and how you're operating on Sunday to Sunday. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. Give us your tips.
your tips. So, yeah, low key today, a little bit of a recap. Shoot us a
Yeah,
DM, a comment about what you think we should cover next week. We'll be back next week at 11:30 on the dot with another ProPresenter tips or ProPresenter Power Talks. And we can talk about more tips if you guys want that, or if there's something you are struggling with in your church or want to talk about, we'd love to engage with that. So, yeah.
that's right.
Well, Sheik, do you
All
want
right.
to like just real quick pray for all these guys and like thank God for what they did, what God's done in their churches this
Yeah,
week,
of course.
and just pray for them
Yeah,
this week as
definitely.
they recover, and then we'll get out of here.
All right. God, we thank you for the opportunity to celebrate your death and resurrection, your sacrifice, the sacrifice that you made for us. I pray that this would be a season full of fruit from this last weekend for all these churches that are represented. That they would see growth, they would see not only in numbers, but in the way that they do things, that they would push for more excellence. And God, that this week would be a week of recuperation and rest and kind of de-stressing from all the things that all the things that have gotten into planning for this past weekend. We love you, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.
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 Sweet.
ProPresenter
Well,
Poppy
later.
did it again.
ProPresenter. Well, sweet. See you guys next week.